always keep that in mind. And as we go on this trip, if you have questions about YPAL, a lot of YPAL people here that will want to share and everything. So I don't know if I can hand the mic back over to you if we're talking, but I'll go ahead and give it a try.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And I know it was kind of challenging parking in this area, and that's a good thing for the businesses in this district. But again, my name is Steve Weiser with the Louisville Historical League, been president for a few years. We have our banner right here, and we have some QR codes on there. If you're interested in more about the league and the history of us, you can scan the upper QR code, and more importantly, if you want to make a donation, our QR code down below is also relevant as well. But we do have a free membership at our organization. We do monthly events. Our next event is going to be November the 23rd down at the Brennan House downtown. It's on Real Ghost of Louisville. So that's at 2 p.m. at the Brennan House, which does have a ghost at it. Then we do our annual holiday party December the 7th at the historic Peterson-Dumanel House just down Frankfort Avenue here. So we have monthly events, and then we're going to do an event in January at the Fraser Historical Museum. Then we're having walking tours, building tours, things of that nature. So that's what the Louisville Historical League does on a regular basis. So hit our QR codes, go to our program page, and see what we have in store for us later this year and then for 2026. What we're going to be doing today is we have Kevin Gibson here, who's a noted historian and author. He's going to do a little talk about some of the taverns in this area. Then we're going to break off into 3 groups. For those of you that want to go on the tour, we've got 3 different groups going out, and so you can match up with however you want to do that. Or you can stay here and enjoy the libations here, or watch the ball game or whatever. But that's sort of the game plan. And we hope to be done about 3:15, 3:30, thereabouts. And again, if you want to go out and do your own thing, that's fine with us as well. This is kind of a loose format. Any questions before we introduce Kevin here about any of those logistics? Okay, without further ado, Kevin Gibson, a die-hard Green Bay Packer fan.
I almost dressed the part, but I decided to keep it formal.
When I invited Kevin to do this, he had to look at his football schedule before he could commit.
Thank goodness for night games, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And Packers were on tonight against Pittsburgh, right?
Yep.
Okay, Kevin, I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Hopefully your team's not playing right now. Where we are standing now, this dates back to 1885, and it bills itself as the only continuously operating tavern in the city. And of course, it couldn't legally operate as a tavern during Prohibition, but my understanding is down in the basement you could get alcohol. So speakeasy in the basement. I wish it was still there, but I don't think it is. So this is a pretty traditional late 1800s building. It was created as a tavern. The proprietor would live up here, so he was always with his business. Early in his life, it was called the Melwood Inn. It later became the Rendezvous Inn. And then about 1950-ish, it opened with a name dear to my heart, Gibson's Restaurant. So the proprietor was a guy by the name of Gibson, and during his short run here, they had the mishap of a tanker truck that was coming down Millwood, and I guess going a little fast, and slammed into the front of the building and hurt a bunch of people who were having lunch, having beers, and one guy who was walking home got hit by a brick. So he was sent to the hospital but recovered, from my understanding.
But no relation to you, Kevin Gibson.
No
right?
relation to me, no. No. So in later years, it became the Frank Rush Inn. And you probably remember it as when it just switched to the Rush Inn. And it's been a local watering hole forever and ever and ever. And I've lived in this neighborhood for 18 years, so I spent a fair amount of time in this place. And back in 2015, the new owners bought it and turned it into what you see today. It's still a sort of a dive bar, but it's a clean one. They got all the smells out, so it's a great place to come listen to music. And my band has played here a number of times. It's a great staff. The owner, Scott, is great. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, you got to get here for the fried chicken, man. It's the best in the city. I'm not even kidding you.
He's not lying.
It's great. Okay, so another interesting place just up the block here, Silver Dollar. So when I moved here, that was still a working firehouse. I actually voted there the first election I was here. But that was originally built in 1890, the home of Hook and Ladder, Louisville Hook and Ladder number 3. So it was an active firehouse, and you've probably noticed on the facade, it looks like when it says Alberta Stoll. Okay, that was Albert A. Stoll. They just didn't space the letters far enough apart. So for years I was like, who's Alberta Stoll? And so when I finally researched it, I realized he was a former alderman, and he was very instrumental in getting public education up and going in the city. And so when they built that firehouse, he helped get funding for the firehouse, so they named it after him, to honor his legacy. So now he rolled with gravy, thought everyone's calling him Alberta, I'm sure. But that building has undergone some changes. You know, it's still got the great bay door, but they used to have, on the east side, they had a lookout tower. So they would send guys up there, and they could look around the neighborhood and watch for fires, because it was before there were alarm systems. And that's how you found neighborhood fires, was by seeing the smoke coming up. So, which is, I found fascinating when I learned that. I've actually found a picture of it with the tower still on it. So, very interesting building. It's been open about, what, 15 years now as a tavern?
A Silver Dollar, yes, it is 15.
Whiskey by the drink, and it's got their huge collection of whiskeys, and I think they still play, was it Americana music? What's it called, Butch?
Roots Americana?
Yeah, it's a Bakersfield.
Oh, there you go.
Bakersfield stuff, yeah. So it's kind of sticks with the past a little bit. The prices might not be from the past, but it's still a cool place to hang out. And you can still get a little pony of a Miller High Life there, which who doesn't like that? Okay, a few others around the neighborhood. I'm not going to spend too much time on those, so we can get out walking. So right there, Chicken and Me, that is not only a great restaurant with a fascinating, lovely menu, and the happy hour is fantastic. Great deals on food. That is an old farmhouse, and that actually has 5 hearths in it, 5 fireplace hearths. So there are 3 upstairs and 2 downstairs. So I guess the ones upstairs for the bedrooms. You know, of course you don't see that many chimneys anymore. I don't think that they're all functional anymore. There's 2, I see 2. But it's really a cool place. If you've not been in there, go in, take a look around. It's all the original brick and stuff. It's really, really cool place. And a lot of history. There's not much on it that I've ever found about who all owned it and what year it was built. I assume 1860-ish. You know, so. All right. Remember the dearly beloved Hilltop Tavern down the street, which closed in the last month or so? That was originally an A&P grocery store. And so it was another traditional building where the proprietor lived upstairs, and that's now an apartment, and the grocery store was downstairs. It was just a neighborhood grocery store. The former owner of Hilltop has tried to tell me that there was also a brothel up there at one point. I don't think I believe that, but anyway, right down that strip is where the original trolley rail ran. So there's a great picture you can find online of the old A&P with the trolley making its first stop, and everyone's gathered around excited. People are hanging out the top windows and stuff. So very big strip, very, very historic area that we're in, and all these buildings have something to offer. So right caddy corner on that same corner was the Champagnery, which also recently closed. And that was actually a pharmacy. That was H.G. Young Druggist. And you can still see the sign as you go past there. It's faint, but you can still read the sign that was on there from back in the late 1800s. Another point that I want to make that I forgot to write notes on, you walk around here, you're going to see a lot of brick streets, a lot of cobblestone streets. And those are just streets that haven't been paved over. You know, for whatever reason, they never got paved over. Of course, those were good for horses back then. Those brick streets were better for horses to get a grip. You know, so as trolley cars and automobiles started becoming more in vogue, and then we started putting asphalt over everything, and that just cracks and goes all to hell. All right, I'm on one more. You know what a Motel Marty is? It's a little coffee shop, and they've just built, I don't know if it's apartments or a motel actually or what, but if you see that built into that structure, there's an old train car. That was not long ago home to what they call Jerry's Junk. A man named Jerry Lotz
Oh, yeah.
lived there.
Yeah.
And he had all this crazy stuff. He had a a statue of the Statue of Liberty with Richard Nixon's face on it, and he was doing this. And the legend I heard was that originally he was making a gesture with only one finger, and the church on the corner, which is now real estate property, begged him to please tone it down, so he did. But there was everything, old cars, you know, collectibles. He actually appeared on an episode of American Pickers. He sold them a sign, but he was really high on his prices, so they didn't buy much from him. But he was a guy, when I would walk my dog around the neighborhood, I would see him sitting on the second floor with a cup of coffee in his hand, just kind of watching things go by. And he looked really stern and looked like he was always in a bad mood. But then I would walk by later and be down on the sidewalk talking to somebody about all of this stuff, and he'd be telling where he got this, where he got that. And you know, I knew him well enough to say hi to him, but I was always fascinated by what he had done with that place. It's almost like a little castle he built there. So I was so concerned that when he passed away a few years ago, I was concerned that they were going to raise it and build something ugly and new. And luckily, the people who took it over.
A ballroom, maybe?
What's that?
A ballroom?
Yeah. Let's not get into that, please. But no, they've kept it, like, you see the original gate is still there. It's still got its initials in it and stuff. It's really, when we walk by there, take a look at the details. All the stuff got auctioned off, and what an auction that was. I attended one day of it. But it's really, it's just part of the neighborhood. It's part, you know, all these places that we're highlighting is really just a big part of this small neighborhood. So we've got maps we're going to hand out.
Yeah, we're going to hand out the maps. There's a lot of history on these maps. Hopefully we got enough for everyone here.
Oh,
Steve, can I just have one?
Yeah, go ahead, Ted.
I'm Ted Stone, and you know, we're fortunate at these windows right here because you can kind of see where we are, right? The river's over there, that's the lowland that used to get flooded all the time. This is Clifton, right? So this is getting to the higher ground, so everything goes that way is uphill. And it kind of got on the map a little bit because the streetcars ran out here at some point, and they were mule pulled, and if it came off the tracks, everybody got out and put it back on the tracks. And the slaughterhouses were in this end of town, and Beargrass Creek is out here, so that it used to run down to 3rd Street in the river. It got rerouted over here to get all that goof out from downtown, right? So there's a lot of kind of, and of course Frankfort used to be a buffalo trace. I mean, the buffalo came to ford the river at the falls. So Bardstown Road and a number of the old buffalo traces became, Preston Highway became today's roads. The one thing that struck me, I read, Clifton in 1876, so this is after the Civil War, had 75 residents. And you look around and that's not very many. I mean, I'm not sure how many's in this room, but, and so it really, because late developing compared to the rest of the city. That's it. I just.
My understanding about the development of Clifton was that it was a consortium of workers who were in the breweries and the slaughterhouses along Story Avenue, and they wanted to be away from the stink and the stench of all of that, so they incorporated Clifton as a separate area from Crescent Hill. And it's since been annexed, of course, by the city, but that was the original genesis of it.
And if everybody's interested in buying a book, I've got some over here. 20 bucks.
Yeah, Kevin's got his book here. And one last thing, as Gary was indicating, this was way outside of downtown. If you rode a horse back in the mid-1800s from City Hall at 6th and Jefferson out to this point, it would probably take you 20 or 25 minutes to get out here. Nowadays, if you get on I-71 right over here, you go out 20 or 25 minutes, how far out would that get you? Oldham County. That's how far out that this was. As they were saying, this was its own separate community, way far away from downtown Louisville. So very historic. We've got a number of maps here that I'm going to pass out that have a lot of this information on it that Kevin and Gary and Ted were just saying. And any other questions on this before we get going? Here, I'll go ahead and pass these out. Everyone just.
My understanding is the original fire tower that's in City Hall, you look at the left tower with the louvers, that was a visual fire tower for,
Was it?
yeah,
That doesn't
for many,
surprise me at all.
many years.
Yeah.
And it's still there, it's intact. I don't know if anybody's going up there for anything.
Right. All right.
Well, anyways, we'll take a few minutes here, and I'm not sure what the beverage law is here, but I'm not certain if we can take our beverages out onto the street.
We can't.
This is not one of those districts out like Nulu where you.
Nulu, yeah, you can do it there, but not here.
Okay, we'll take a few minutes and then we'll get.
Yeah,
I'll take off my glasses.
after like, or I moved to Minnesota after I graduated, stayed there for like a year. And then I ended up not loving my job. And I was like, we're having like
We might need to take back one.
yes.
I think because I have to sit in Maine, that's the first weekend that I'll be able to visit. And
Road and Shelbyville Road goes on out to Shelbyville, Frankfurt, and all beyond. That's how it got its name, of course. There used to be farms to the east of us here, and a lot of pig farms, in fact, to the east of us. They would drive their pigs literally down Frankfurt Avenue and on over to the stockyards over here in Butchertown. Beargrass Creek is right down there. The bridge to Beargrass is right in the middle of the street down there. You see the black fences on either side. That's going across Beargrass Creek. They say Beargrass got its name from a bear in the grass. Go figure, I'm not sure why, but we did used to have bears here. We used to have bison, elk, everything else, and they've all since been run off, of course. Now then, Beargrass Creek used to empty in downtown Louisville. It used to flow down to where 3rd and down 3rd Street and the Ohio River, where the Bell Louisville ties up. The Beargrass Creek can go that way, but all of the waste from the animals being butchered here in Butchertown, the residents of downtown did not like all of the animal carcasses floating down to their area, so they rerouted Beargrass Creek and took it down, and it goes out to the Ohio River just a little bit farther down that way. Now then, when we had the 1937 flood, this is what really impacted Louisville, was Beargrass Creek, because all the flood waters came into the city via Beargrass Creek. And when you've ever seen photographs of, say, Broadway and even places where the main library is, you see all that water standing around. Where did that come from? It didn't come from the Ohio River. It came from Beargrass Creek, backing up. Beargrass Creek, it was about 20 feet high. It was way high, the flood, at this point. On some of the intersections in the area, and they should have one here, but they have markers on some of the telephone poles of how high the flood waters were back in those days. Now then, why don't we have that situation today? Why doesn't the Beargrass Creek back up during a flood? They built, MSD built these floodgates a little bit farther down, and the gates shut down. Whenever they start flooding, they shut the gates, stops the water from backing up into the city. So that's how they mitigate the flood. Has anyone been to San Antonio, Texas?
Yeah, the Paseo del Rio.
Yeah, so if you go to San Antonio, they have what's called the infamous river walk. You may have heard of it. Why doesn't it back up? Why doesn't that river flood? As the river comes into downtown, it flows back out of downtown. They have huge gates on either end. They drop those gates and keeps the water from backing up into downtown San Antonio. Same thing that we've got here with Beargrass Creek. So again, Butchertown starts over there. This is the Clifton area. We'll see Beargrass Taverns right over there. And right over here used to be the old Melwood Distillery. Guess how Melwood Avenue got its name? They had a huge distillery right here called Melwood Distillery, operated from about the 1880s up to Prohibition. Prohibition closed it down and never did reopen. But they kept the name. That's where we got the name Melwood. In fact, Melwood wasn't even the original name for it. It was supposed to be Millwood. The guy that owned the distillery wanted to call it Millwood. On his application, the guy that was the government official issuing the license misspelled it Millwood. And as they say, the rest is history. That's how instead of Millwood, it's now, I like Millwood better.
It's like Alberta Stone.
Yeah, Alberta Stone. Did, but my gosh, hope they had a good filtering process. One last thing about Beargrass Creek. So when they moved Beargrass Creek and dumped it down there, the water company said, oh my gosh, that's going to contaminate our great water system when they did all that. because they were drawing the water in past, just up from 3rd Street. They were drawing the water in. So now they were going to contaminate our water system with that. So they, in 1860, built a whole new water complex there at Zorn and River Road. That classical white structure, we call it the water tower now. So they built that in 1860. Now then, if you heard me earlier talking about how far away these things were, again, it would take you 20, 25 minutes by horse from downtown to get out to that water company. So why did they build it in such a classical, beautiful design back in those days? We love it now, but back then hardly anyone in Louisville got to see it. Why would they have done that? Well, back in those days, how did people get to Louisville? By steamboats. They came from Cincinnati down on steamboats. That, I call it our St. Louis Arch. They had this great, promotional saying we've got great water here, move here, live here, it's a great place to live. And that's the way I view why they did what they did. If y'all have another theory, let me know. But other than that, it was a great marketing tool to build this beautiful water company, but so far away that no one got to see it. So that kind of ends our tour. What we're going to do now is we'll go back to Melwood Tavern. Y'all want to get a libation there, that's fine. Or if you want to go look at some of the other taverns that we have here or roam around, you can do that as well. But hopefully y'all enjoyed all that. Got a little history there. We are going to have a quiz now. All right. You can't leave until you answer the quiz.